What's going on, guys? Vulkan here, and lately I have been completely engrossed in this demo that went live over Steam Next Fest that's called Frozen Flame. So it's a survival action RPG from Dreamside Interactive that puts players in the role of a resurrected warrior who is tasked with toppling the frozen citadel in order to save the world. So I wanted to put a quick video out on my impressions so far because I think it is worth keeping an eye on. And if you want to go try the demo, you can do that as well. I have the link in the description below. Now, because this is just a demo, we are not able to siege the Citadel. Instead, we get to explore the first little region of the game. We get to build our house, we get to craft weapons and supplies, we get to cook, and then once you're ready, you get to search for these 4 masks that are needed to activate the teleporter. Now, these masks are being protected by bosses, so you want to make sure to bring your A game when you're taking them on. Now, once you have all 4, you can activate the teleporter and beat the demo. But what makes Frozen Flame fun? So that's a question where we have multiple answers. So first, the exploration aspect is very rewarding. It's just, honestly, it's just fun to do, even with the boundary limitations. The world is packed full of enemies to fight, resources to gather, a dungeon to explore, and lots of hidden areas with chests. Now, the enemies so far have been pretty lacking in terms of variety. You have floaters, which are these like jellyfish flower things that just float. And then you have these cursed natives that range from melee to archers. You have warthogs that are surprisingly dangerous. And lastly, I did find some skeletons in the dungeon that were super deadly if you wandered in there too early. Now, I'm assuming that this is just because this is the first area, so obviously you have inhabitants of a certain environment, and as you get deeper into the game and explore different biomes, you're going to find different enemies to fight. Now, in terms of the combat system, so the combat system in Frozen Flame is one that I think lots of people will enjoy. You do have a stamina bar to manage, but you can also just like go wild on an enemy and you won't be brutally punished for it. So while it can be more challenging than your typical action RPG, it's definitely not Dark Souls. So being able to do things like dodge, attack during windows, understand enemy movements will help you in the long run, but it's not required to actually just enjoy the game. So back to the world. Okay, so I spent lots of time searching for these like little stone tablets and these pillars to interact with. Now, the stone tablets will give you a taste of lore, while the pillars will help you activate challenges. Now, these challenges range from catching a certain number of fish, to defeating enemies, to finding hidden altars. And all of these operate within a certain time limit. Now, if you're able to go out and get all of this done, then you're going to get a large experience boost and sometimes even a loot reward like gold, maybe a blueprint, maybe some health potions. And the thing is, you want to do these things. And the reason being is you want to do these because they give you a large experience boost and you want to level fast. Because once you get a level, it helps you define your character. Because each level is going to reward you with increased stats, which is typical, but you also get a currency known as a Frozen Flame. Now, Frozen Flame is basically a skill point, but oddly enough, it lives in your inventory. Now, once you have enough of these, you can visit an altar in order to spin them. Now, in the demo, you do have 3 specializations to choose from. You have a warrior, you have a mage, you have an archer. And each one of these has 3 active skills and 3 passive skills to unlock. So there isn't a ton of variety, but they do have certain identities. And if you're a warrior, you're going to feel very much at home in the warrior tree versus mage and archer. Me being a caster at heart, I obviously went for the mage tree first, and I unlocked the fire cone skill as well as the ability to wield staves. So this ability itself deals damage in a frontal cone, has a 12-second cooldown. It's incredibly useful early on, and it just feels powerful and fun to use. The thing is, skills aren't the only way to fight enemies. You do also have weapons that you can use. So at the start, you're gonna have like this wood cutting axe. It doesn't deal too much damage. It barely gets the job done. But after you build your first house, you can craft a spiked club that really bumps up your damage. Now, once you get the spiked club, you can start venturing a little bit further into the world because enemies are going to be much more dangerous and have a lot more health, and you don't want to, go in there with a wet noodle because that's just not going to work. Now, along the way, you're going to find an NPC named Bonehead that sells more advanced weapon blueprints. Things like great swords, staves, bows, and these are when things get a little bit more interesting. So if you took the mage path like I did, then you can wield a staff and be able to use that staff to cast fire spells. But it also gives you your first taste of ranged combat. So making sure to take the specialization you want and then pair it with the right weapon is going to be key, because obviously you don't want to take a mage and go with a great sword. It just doesn't really have a lot of synergy, I'll say. You totally can, but for now, I kind of just kept everything in the same bucket. So back to those blueprints I just talked about from Bonehead, right? Selling weapon blueprints. You can buy these with gold coins, and these gold coins are found on dead enemies. You can find them in hidden caches, hidden chests, and then you can take those back to your house, the blueprints that is, and you can craft them using your workbench. Now, once you unlock a blueprint, it's yours forever. You can continue crafting them as long as you have the resources, and these blueprints can be found all over as random drops, not just from vendors. Now, if you're playing on the survival mode, there's two server types, right? There's a campaign, there's survival mode. If you're playing on survival, everything is RNG. So you have to go out, you have to kind of kill stuff, farm, do all these things, and you'll get, random drops, and those blueprints are how you progress. Okay, so I've mentioned building your house a few times. So I want to talk about that process because, again, this is a big kind of core element of Frozen Flame. So when you gather enough resources, which honestly isn't much, you can lay down what's called a construction core. And this construction core is needed to begin building your house. So you want to make sure to pick a good spot that's flat. And since flooring can disappear under terrain, like it can glitch and bug out, right? I'm sure this is something they're planning to fix before release, but still, you want to make sure you have a flat area. Otherwise, you're going to be like building into the ground. Now, I've learned a few things about building houses in Frozen Flame because I've built like 4 of them. So building your house needs to be done a certain way from my experience. First, you want to lay down your core, and then you want to build your house next to your core. Think of your core as your teleportation pad because you can teleport back to it. If you build your house on top of it, you will not be able to teleport back to your house. It just will not work. It'll do the cast bar, it'll do the animation, then it'll just not work. So build your core next to your house. And then once you do that, you need to start actually laying your foundation. So there's a whole bunch of different things you can choose from. You want to choose foundation first. These are raised platforms that help create a flat surface. Then you want to build your 4 walls. And then lastly, your roof. Now, once you add a roof, you're going to get the shelter buff. And this is when you know that you are in shelter and you can start putting things like your workbench, a chair, your storage chest, all of those things in your house. If you do not have the shelter buff, you're not going to be able to do that, and you're not really going to be able to do anything. At that point, it's just 4 walls. So you want to make sure to get that buff. So I really like what they have in there right now, but it's still a little finicky to use. Now, this was one of the less exciting experiences I had with the demo, since some of the objects wouldn't snap together correctly, and even one time my entire house disappeared. Like the whole thing. I logged out, logged back in, and I was standing in just an empty plane, and I was like, okay, well, my house was here, I guess. And I was playing single player. It wasn't like a PvP server or anything, so all right. And I get it's a demo environment, but it is still something to like watch out for. So all in all, guys, my time with Frozen Flame has been really enjoyable, even from the demo. I'm really looking forward to the actual full release to see what all comes with it, how the game's going to evolve, how long the game is, all the different environments. This has been one that's been in the pipeline for a while. I've had it on my wish list for a long time. So this is just, it was nice to be able to get into the game and actually experience it and play it. And I think that if you're someone who enjoyed V Rising, if you're someone who enjoyed Valheim, then you're going to enjoy this one as well. So folks, that wraps this video up. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, this has been Vulkan. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.